Hi, welcome to the galley. Now in the galley today, it's a little bit experimental day. We are making a soup together, you and me together for the first time. We're making chicken, white bean, and vegetable soup. Now, is that the first time that soup's ever been made? No. This version, my version that I kind of thought up in my head, is the first time that I'm making it. I had this chicken stock. I wanted to do something with it. I needed to use it. And I got the idea for the soup in my head. And sometimes they just kind of roll around there for a couple days. And and then I get to it. So hopefully it's going to be successful. And if it is, I'll put a link to the recipe in the description below. But let's do it. Let's get started. You and me together for the first time making this chicken, vegetable, and cannelli bean soup. I think it's going to be fantastic. So I went with the whole chicken because I got this whole entire chicken for $7. And it's a nice chicken. It doesn't have colors added to it. Doesn't have antibiotics. It doesn't have growth hormones. It's all nice, good chicken for $7. But I don't want to use this whole chicken in my soup. I'm probably just going to use the legs and the thighs, and then the breast we can save for something completely different. But all of the bones and the backbone and the neck bone, all that's going to do, it's going to make our stock even better. So let me show you. We'll get started cutting up our. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the legs, and I'm just going to cut down that leg, and then you're just going to want to pop it out, and you can see how that joint popped out, and you're just going to follow that along and remove that leg quarter. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. We're just going to cut down and bend it back, and you just want to pop that leg joint. And you can hear it and you can see it, and then we're going to just follow that along. And I could put this in just like this, but if you wanted to cut it up and separate the leg from the thigh, you see this white fat line here? So you just want to cut on the leg side of that, and it'll go straight through. So that's always where you cut to separate your two. And I'm going to pop these in my pot over here. So again, we're just going to go to the leg side of that fat line, and that's where you cut through to separate that. Now for your wings, you want to cut all the way around both sides, and that's going to come off. Again, we're going to throw that in our pot and just cut all the way around your wing till you find that joint and release it. There we go. Now for the breast, I'm going to just cut this backbone out. And these backbones I always save in the freezer to make stock. And today I'm just going to go ahead and throw it into this soup and just really enhance this stock. And I can leave this whole, or I can cut it in half. And I'm just going to use my big knife and go right down the center here. And now I have two breasts. And in the pot we go. Now to my pot, I'm going to add that chicken stock. I have about 3 stalks of celery that I'm going to throw in there. And I'm going to cut up, just roughly cut up some carrots. Now, colors of carrots. You can go with just orange. But when you can find the purple carrots, get the purple carrots. Purple carrots have 28 times the amount of antioxidants that the orange carrots do. And these certain antioxidants that the purple carrots have, they help prevent heart disease, they can help mental decline, and they also can help prevent certain types of cancers. So the purple ones, they're the ones to get. Now, I think that the white ones taste more like parsnips. And of course, the white ones, they don't have the amount of beta carotene that the other two do, but they're still just as nutritious. Orange. Now, I do know that these look like they just came out of the ground, but I promise you, I washed them with my vegetable wash that I made, and I scrubbed them with my brush, so they are clean. And look how pretty those purple carrots are inside. Aren't they pretty? So I'm going to dump this in here. And then at the farm stand, because spring onions are just abundant right now. And so I picked up some spring onions. And I'm going to use this part in the soup. So I'm going to cut up or cut off the tops. And I'm going to put the tops in my stock. And then we're going to put cold water. And you know, always cold water. Always start your stocks with cold water. So what I've added over here is a garlic or two. There's another one in there. A couple of bay leaves and some whole peppercorns. So I'm going to let this come to a boil. And then we're going to turn down that heat and let it simmer and 30 minutes. And then I'll come and check the temperature of my breast. And if they're done, I'm going to pull those out and then let the legs and thighs cook just a little bit longer. So while this is coming up to heat, we're going to get started on the ingredients for our soup, because we're going to strain this stock off to use to make our soup. So then we need the ingredients to our soup. So I have started with the carrots. As you know, we talked about the carrots, and I have all three colors in here. It tastes like a parsnip, I think. I've got celery, and what we're going to do is some Swiss chard. And so what I'm going to do with the Swiss chard, come on down here, let me show you. So I just cut the rib out of my Swiss chard. And then I have all of my Swiss chard here, and we're going to add that way at the end. But this rib, I can chop up and we can add when we saute our other vegetables, because there's still lots of good nutrients and flavor. Now, do you have to have Swiss chard? You do not have to have Swiss chard. You could do rainbow chard, Swiss chard, you could do kale, you could do spinach. I just thought this was really pretty today, so that's what I got. And then we're going to chop up these onions. Now, my Swiss chard, I'm just going to tear this into pieces. So I've got a can of diced tomatoes and, oh, peas. I forgot the peas. The farm stand here, they vacuum pack and freeze their peas as soon as they pick them and shell them, because they don't last very long otherwise. So we're going to add fresh peas to this soup. And then cannellini beans. I have 2 cans. I'm only going to put 1 can in the soup. The other can I'm going to put in my food processor and blend them up really smooth. And this is going to give our body to the soup, or give not our body, give somebody to the soup. So instead of adding a thickening agent like a flour and butter roux or a cornstarch, which I'm not a big fan of in soups, we're going to blend this up, and this is going to give body to that soup, and it's also going to keep it gluten-free. So if you can't have gluten, this is another great way to thicken your soup. So we're going to do that, and then in the end, we're going to finish with some fresh dill. So I got to get this dill cut up. I love that smell of fresh dill. So we're going to finish with some fresh dill. So I think, oh, Italian seasoning. I keep forgetting stuff. This is what happens when you don't have a recipe that you've written, or somebody else's that you're following. You're making it up as you go along. You have to keep on track and keep on tack. So now comes the waiting game. So I'll see. So if you do take this route of making stock as you go for your soup dish, you might find that you need to skim it occasionally. So I'm going to pull my chicken breast out and temp them. Now, do you have to do this to make this soup? No, you do not. You can have chicken stock and some chicken and make it without doing this. And I will put a version of that in the recipe. But for me, if you have the whole chicken anyway, you might as well take advantage of all of that deliciousness. So that's what I did. And we are at 172, so we're good. 165 for chicken. Now, what I want to do is let this chicken breast cool down. I've kind of gotten all the things that I need out of here. I've gotten collagen and protein and all of that good stuff in here. And now I'm gonna let this cool down, and now I'll have these two chicken breasts that I can use to make chicken salad, or maybe pull them apart and make a burrito, or the sky's the limit. So I'm gonna let these cool down and then have a whole nother meal with these two chicken breasts. So what I'm gonna do first is remove the chicken pieces that I want to shred for the soup. And then I'm going to go ahead and just remove these big pieces to discard them, because I find it easier when you're pouring that you don't have these big lumps of things hitting and splashing up on you. I'm just going to pour this through. Heat on medium high. And no, I did not clean this. I just kind of wiped it out a little bit. There was some onion stuck in there. I'm going to do a good swirl of olive oil. And the first thing that I'm going to add is all of that mirepoix that we cut up. And I want to let this saute probably about 5 to 8 minutes. So while our vegetables are sauteing, I'm going to put that can in my food processor, that 1 can of cannellini beans. I'm going to add a little of that stock that we made. Give this a whirl. And you see how beautiful and smooth that became? Now I'm going to add some Italian seasoning. Now, I'm going to add this and then taste it later and maybe add more. And this is kind of because I'm making this up as we go along. So I think I'm going to start with, see how this looks. There's 1 tablespoon of Italian seasoning. Now my Italian seasoning has basil, oregano, thyme, rosemary, garlic powder, and red chili flakes. So I'm getting a lot of flavor. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do 2 tablespoons. And then I'm going to add those 4 cloves of garlic that we minced. And then I decided that we needed some acid in here. And at first I thought I might go balsamic vinegar, and although I think that would probably be delicious and a good alternative if you had balsamic and you didn't have a lemon. But I think I'm going to go lemon and just really brighten it up. And, you know, if I'm using the lemon juice, I might as well use the zest. So I'm going to use the zest, get all that beautiful juice, and you can just see how much juice is in there. This is a good lemon. And after the lemon, we're going to put our tomatoes in, our 1 whole can cannellini beans. The cannellini puree that we made. All right, and then we're going to pour that beautiful stock. We might have just a little extra. We'll see. I want to cook this for a minimum of 30 minutes, and that's going to help remove the tinny taste, not only from the tomatoes, but from the cannellini beans. So I'm going to add some cracked pepper. I'm using my pepper blend, and I'm going to add some hot sauce. I want to put my chardonnay or my peas. It's a little too early. So I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes. And in that time, we'll go and remove that chicken from the bone. So I'm pulling my chicken apart, and as soon as I get this pulled apart and shred it up, I'm going to put it right in my soup. And I was thinking that another good way to add body to your soup is with a can of cream style corn. So I'm kind of waffling. Do I want to add a can of creamed corn to this soup? And well, I haven't quite decided. So don't go anywhere because, it's a cliffhanger and the excitement continues. So our timer is about to go off for our 20 minutes. And if you're waiting for the cliffhanger, I went for it. I went for the corn and added a can of cream style corn. And I think I'm glad I did because I think I like the way it feels now. I think I like the way it feels a little thicker. When the timer goes off, I'm gonna put the Swiss chard and the peas, and I'm not putting all of those peas, just a portion of those peas. But I thought that some focaccia bread would be perfect with this soup, so I've been making focaccia bread at the same time as I've been making the soup. And again, I just want to say how when you're making soups and you say, Gary, I don't want to put that in there, don't put that in there. You could add sweet potatoes, pasta, rice. So just make it yours. Make it what you like and what you want to put in it. I want to let this kasha bread do one more rise, and then I think our timer is going to go off. See those beautiful air bubbles in there? I think we're close enough that we can add our peas. So I'm going to add the peas. Because the peas really don't take that long to cook. I might go over here and I'm going to add the chard. So what I normally do when I make a big pot of soup like this, obviously, is I freeze batches. And then it's so great because you have a day when you're busy and you don't feel like cooking and you can pull that bag out of the freezer. So great. I haven't salted this yet, so I'm going to taste. Oh, it is so delicious. And I want to add a little bit of salt. It's really, really good. I don't know that I need a lot, but I need a little. And do your kosher salt. Do not do your sea salt. Remember, kosher salt enhances, brings out the flavor of your food. Sea salt is a finishing salt, something that you finish the top of a dessert or something that you want to taste that saltiness. And I don't want my soup to taste salty. I want my soup to taste like soup. And I think I'm going to say no to the Italian seasoning. I think the Italian seasoning was perfect. And I don't think it needs more pepper. So 10 more minutes to simmer, and then we're going to finish it with that fresh dill. So I just wanted you to come back down here and just look at this beautiful soup. Isn't it gorgeous? Isn't this colors just so vibrant and beautiful? And we're going to finish that with just a little fresh dill. Thank you so much for being with me today. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, I would just appreciate it if you did. Give me a thumbs up. It really helps a lot. I can't wait to have soup and focaccia tonight. Thanks for experimenting with me, and I hope you had fun. I had fun, and I think it's a success. So look in the description below for the link to the recipe. And until next time, safe cruising. It's better than it was in my head. It's delicious.